It is 2005. I stood backstage in Tokyo, violin in hand. When you are a freelance Baroque violinist, every performance is like an audition, like another chance to prove your worth among countless other technically flawless players. A reflection of myself in the mirror have shown what everyone have seen except for myself. Just another violinist in a sea of violinists without absolutely anything special or valuable to add. But you know that this is not true. You know that you have something precious to express. Maybe this is why you became a musician, yet for some reason you remain invisible. Here's the brutal truth. Today, exorbitantly expensive instruments, phenomenal technique, impressive CVs, awards, rewards from prestigious competitions, all of that have become just the price of the entrance ticket, not an invitation to the table. And it was in this moment I had to face the question which I have avoided facing for so long. Am I going to spend the rest of my life being the option number 197 on the list of options, always hanging around, always looked at, but never really seen? And this was my last performance. I was fired, and apparently they found a replacement. I'm not sure if the replacement was 2% better, but I'm sure that the replacement never asked any questions. This is when I turned to the Violoncello Da Spalla, the instrument I made earlier that year, 2005. Expert trolls around mocked and ridiculed. Who needs that? Where have you found that? That doesn't exist. What is this invention? And I wasn't sure either. But then something completely unexpected happened. Daibo Sensei, a lady from my audience, approaches me after one of my performances and she says, you know, Dmitry, what is so inspiring about you? In this audience, there are so many people who have long since given up on creating. They are experts at conforming and complying, yet you do the opposite. And I believe these people need to hear your story more. And this is when I suddenly realized, it was like a lightning bolt. I suddenly realized these performances was not about repertoire, not about instrument, not about technique, not about my impressive CV. These performances were about meaning. And you might be arguing, Dmitry, I care only about sound, not about philosophy. And you are right. Sound is important. Sound to music is what ink to a book. Ink is important. But what you write with that ink is infinitely more important. Does that make sense to you? So I kept playing and I kept sharing why I was playing. And then something everybody else told me will never happen did happen. The journalists who would never return my calls and would never come out to my performances as a violinist suddenly started scheduling interviews with me to share my story with their readers. I got featured in the major industry magazines such as Sarasate, The Strings, The Estrade, Television, RTL-Z, RTL7, Tokyo Mix TV, major newspapers, radio, and so on. Suddenly, festival directors in Asia, in Europe, in Latin America started inviting me to perform as a violoncellist da Spalla. All of a sudden, ensemble directors started inviting me to perform with them as a soloist or as a basso continuo performer. In less than a year, I was playing at major venues such as Tokyo Opera City. My concert fees, by the way, went from 300 euros per concert to up to 14,700 euros per concert. Not because I asked to be paid more, but just because instead of one employer paying me, I had suddenly a few hundreds of music lovers directly rewarding me for what I did. So what happened? My technique hasn't improved. The music I played was the same. Here's what I've learned as a result of this live experience, and I wanted to share this with you because this is a truly game changer. Becoming marginally better is hard. Why? Well, because the level is very high already. And even then, it rarely matters, but becoming meaningfully different always does. Why? Because sound is not just what you hear, sound is what you become. And the Violoncello Da Spalla happens the very best key that unlocks that door that others maybe have led you into believing is that door is not for you. Now I have just shown you that this is not true.